Welcome back to Valley Movers and Shakers, and I am very happy to introduce our next guest, Elias Delgado of Bay Equity Home Loans. Mr. Delgado, thank you for being on the episode. Appreciate it.
Thank you for inviting me.
Well, I understand that you've got a company that's been doing a lot of exciting things here in the community and reaching out and promoting special programs for people who are interested in entering the buyer's market.
Yeah, I'm very excited to be working for a company that promotes home ownership in our community.
That's right.
It's really, really important because as a homeowner, you have more options than you do when you're renting.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, you get to build wealth. You get to create an asset for not only for you, but for your family. Right.
Right. It really helps our community when you really think about it, because even thinking from the standpoint of knowing that your mortgage payment is not going to increase over time like rent does.
Right.
And in this market, a lot of people who own investment properties are selling them, and those new owners are increasing the rent. So you're finding that people in our community are feeling the crunch of even rising rents as it is.
That's right. Well, let's tell us a little bit about you and your roots and how you got into home lending.
Well, I used to work, my background, when I was 17, I started working for a credit union and then other financial institutions, banks.
Right.
But I was really inspired, and I started working with a nonprofit organization, Fair Housing Council, actually.
Okay.
And then once I worked with them, I really liked the nonprofit work, and I started working with another company that was called By Design, and now was ClearPoint. And what they did is, at the time, they started seeing some troubles with people losing their homes to foreclosures or falling behind.
What year was this, pretty much?
So this was probably 2007, 2008.
So right when the crash began.
Right when it began.
Yeah.
And so we received funds from the federal government and the state to help people promote home, being able to keep their homes through Keep Your Home California program and others. And as I was doing the counseling sessions for these folks, I realized that a lot of these loans were not done correctly, and most of these people did not know what they were signing. They were not financially or well educated about what they were doing.
What were some of the problems with those loans that people were signing back then when the panic set in and people were trying to, I got to do something to save my home, but there were a lot of really there was a lot of predatory lending going on, wasn't there?
Yeah, several things. Number
Sure.
one, you had people that, traditionally when people buy a home, for the most part, the interest rate stays the same, the house payment stays the same for the life of the loan. So people are excited to buy a home, and they were offered loans where the interest rate would change,
Right.
or they didn't realize they were paying less than the interest, so the balance of the loan was increasing over time.
Right.
And so that was really heartbreaking. And that really inspired me to say, you know what, if I ever get into this industry, I want to do things differently. I want to bring my background with nonprofit work and be able to give them appropriate financial education,
Right.
so that the person can make a well-based decision.
And that's pretty unusual, isn't it? There aren't a lot of people who end up in your industry who have a nonprofit community service background.
Not many people do, but post the financial crisis, many of the people in my industry are very focused on customer service and making sure that they're taking care of their clients. It really, the financial crisis really took away a lot of the people that were just there for the money and very unethical. So most of the folks, I would say, in our industry are really, really good at what they do.
Right. So what's your connection to the Valley? Did you grow up here? Did you move here from somewhere else?
So I grew up here in Fresno,
Mhm.
and the first elementary school that I went to, because I didn't speak English,
Right.
was West Fresno Elementary School.
Okay.
So talk about coming in, you don't know the culture, you don't know the backgrounds, and not many people speak your language.
Right.
So that's how I learned the language right away.
Right.
I was 6 years old. I went into first grade, and right away my teacher didn't speak Spanish, and no one in the children, none of them speak Spanish either. So
And so that wasn't easy, but you managed to do it.
it wasn't easy, but you know what? You embrace a challenge, and I think that when you're challenged, even when you're younger,
Right.
you really get to appreciate the rewards of that.
Right. And so from going to West Fresno Elementary, how did you progress from there towards higher education? Tell us your story.
From there, then I grew up then on the southeast part of Fresno,
Right.
and then I went to Duncan High School, and at the
Right.
time, even now it's a really really good high school.
Sure.
But you had to apply. It was a quasi college, and I thought that was really really fun.
Right.
Going there and graduating from that. That was my alma mater.
Right.
So, and then from there, that's how I ended up working at a bank, because they had a really good program where half the day for 4 days a week they would send you out to a job site and really prepare you for a career. So that was, and I love financing, I love banking, I love helping people, and that's one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about my work. Trying to find solutions, financial solutions for our clients, and being able to promote that home ownership is really what I'm all about.
So usually when a client comes to you, some of them already have a property in mind, some of them don't, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some of them are looking to get pre-qualified.
Correct.
And how do you go about getting started, educating them, and getting them on the pathway towards home ownership?
Well, the first thing that we do is, or the first thing that I do is I talk to my clients about what are their financial goals, how much they're paying in as rent,
Sure.
or how much money they have saved up.
Right.
All of those questions are important. The basics of a loan is how much money you're going to borrow,
Right.
and how you're going to pay it back, and how are you going to come up with down payment assistance,
Right.
I mean, or the down payment, or if you need down payment assistance.
Sure.
Yeah. So we check their credit. We check their income. We check their deposits on the banks, and also we check their taxes.
Right.
All of that financial information is the first step, and then we can talk to them about how down payment assistance programs work and if it's the right thing for them. Yeah.
Now, many people don't realize, and I think that's one of the reasons why you wanted to speak tonight on the show. Many people don't realize that some people assume perhaps I've got some issues in my background, I don't have a long work history, but there are lots of programs, and if you have a knowledgeable loan person like yourself, you can find a way. It might not be the size or the price of house they want, but you can find a way to own a home.
Well, and you're right about that. Many
Right.
people don't realize that some of these programs, for example, FHA loans,
Right.
you're able to lend for someone who has a credit score as low as 580,
Right.
right? With a minimum down payment of 3.5% down payment.
Right.
How does that translate? Well, if you buy a house for $100,000, that's $3,500.
Right.
If you buy a house for $200,000, that's $7,000, and so forth.
Right.
But there's also the down payment assistance programs. For example, anyone who has a 640 credit score are able to obtain these benefits and be able to get into the house of their dreams, really.
And would you agree that right now is a critical juncture in the valley for people to really concentrate on trying to own homes, because this community is going to change in the next 10 years?
Well, we already see a change.
Right.
I do loans throughout the state of California, but I see very interesting patterns, for example, in communities like Manteca.
Right.
Some of the brand new homes that are selling there,
Right.
that are very comparable to the ones you would buy here in Fresno for the high 200s, maybe
Sure.
300,000.
Right.
They're buying them for $500,000.
Right.
And that's because there's an influx of people that are working in the Bay Area
Right.
that have no problem driving back as long as they are homeowners.
Right.
It's because they appreciate the importance of being a homeowner as part of building wealth,
Right.
as a cornerstone for wealth.
Right.
So we're seeing a few things that are happening here in the valley. We're seeing high-speed rail coming.
Sure.
We're seeing other infrastructure being built, and the continuous population continues to grow here in California.
Right.
So I always tell my clients the best time to buy a home
Right.
is when you're ready.
Right.
But you won't know if you're ready if you don't get financially educated
Right.
about your circumstances.
That's right.
Yeah.
And what can you do what do you try to do to get people financially educated once they come to you?
Well, part of the things that we do, for example, pulling their credit, finding out what their income is, finding out what their debts are, and then finding out exactly how much you can qualify for, right? Once you know how much you qualify for, then you get down to your comfort level. Sometimes people are very surprised that they qualify for more than they really realize or they could imagine. Some people who came in and they would say, you know, my credit score is not very good. We pull their credit and it's in the mid-600s, and we're able to offer them down payment assistance programs, or able to offer them products, or able to offer them a loan amount that they could not see themselves there. So, as like anything else, if we're going on a journey,
Right.
we have to, number one, find ourselves,
Right.
see where we are, and then find a direction so that we may be able to reach that goal.
So, Elias, tell me the satisfaction that you get out of assisting someone to become a new homeowner, particularly someone who is a person of color who came to perhaps not necessarily realizing the possibilities that they have. Tell me the satisfaction you get out of that.
It's an amazing satisfaction, and I'll tell you why. As this is my job and my career,
Right.
and that's how I put food on the table, as
Sure.
it were, for my clients, it's life-changing.
Right.
And you're part of that life-changing experience where they're being able to buy their first home. Sometimes, in many cases, they are the first ones in their family who are able to buy the first home.
Right.
And so their family members, their friends realize that, hey, you know what? If my best friend or my son or my daughter were able to buy their home,
Right.
then I can do it too.
Sure.
You have that, as we would say in Spanish, sí se puede hacer.
Sí se puede. That's right.
Yeah.
So I know you wanted to talk a little bit about some of the special programs that Bay Equity has, and I'm going to give you an opportunity to do that. So what are some of these special programs you have?
Well, we have two of them. The first one I will talk to you about is called a School Teacher and Employee Assistant Program.
Right.
Okay? These are for anyone who's working in a K through 12 school district, be it the principal or the janitor or the cafeteria, food assistant or the teachers. They can all benefit, and they would receive 4% a down payment of the purchase price or the appraised value.
Right.
So that really helps them get their foot in the door, no pun intended,
Sure.
to be able to buy a house. And you can use this money for down payment and or your closing costs.
And that's even if it's a brand new teacher without necessarily the earnings history or the savings or whatever the case may be.
Correct. See, sometimes most people don't realize that to be able to buy a home, you can have as little as 2 years work history,
Right.
right? But for professionals like teachers or people who just graduated, they can come out right out of college, for the most part, be able to qualify for a loan based on what they're going to be making.
And I didn't want to mislead. This is not merely a program for school teachers, but for school employees.
School employees, correct. There's other programs available to the general public,
Right.
right? And with Bay Equity, we work with our community. We give special discounts for personnel or war persons of veterans who
Right.
are veterans or still active military. We give them a special discount in our fees as well.
That's fantastic. What's the other program you wanted to talk about?
The other program, it goes to the other spectrum, but it's actually really a need in our community. It's actually called the Doctors Program. And many of our physicians, when they graduate, they have up to $180,000 in student loans.
Right.
And even though they may be making good money,
Right.
it really hinders them from being able to purchase a home. This special program allows us to take into consideration those deferred student loan payments, and they can come in with as little as 3% down to buy their home. So it's a really, really good program.
That's great.
Yeah.
Have you had a lot of people who have been surprised to know that these types of programs exist?
Once you get to you sit down with a person, they are very surprised how manageable, how easy the process is to be able to get qualified. And they go out there and they find the house that they really like, and they know that they're able to make the payment because we've already talked about that.
Right.
So I encourage anyone who is thinking about buying a home, I'll be more than happy. My team is really more than happy to help them with that.
Well, that's fantastic. So Elias, like my last guest, I did want to give you an opportunity to talk to the audience. Let's say we have somebody who thinks, you know what, everything's on the internet these days. I don't need to go to someone else to educate myself as to my home ownership possibilities. I'm a pretty good Googler. What do you say to somebody like that?
I think you still need to talk to someone who has the financial background, the professionalism, in order to be able to explain to you the process, be able to walk you through the process of getting your home loan, and being able to make the right financial decisions with that education. Sometimes what we offer as well is a different financial point of view. Some people say, well, is 3.5% down payment, is that a lot of money? Well, other programs require 15%, 20%, 5% down payment.
Right.
So it could be relatively affordable. But that financial background that we have and we offer our clients, then that can actually be to their benefit.
Right.
Go ahead and Google, go ahead and learn and be able to ask your loan officer the right questions. Yeah.
Elias Delgado, thank you so much for
Thank you so
being
much
on
for
Valley
having me.
Movers and Shakers, and thank you also for helping people in our community who wouldn't necessarily be owning homes to own homes.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate your time.
Hope you come back and see us again.
Thank you.
All right. Elias Delgado, we'll be back soon with our next guest.